we create these spaces because we realize that something is missing from our society. And what is missing are those type of places for men where they can explore and they can work on those parts of themselves that are not validated by the society or not welcomed or not nurtured enough. It's quite effective in healing father wounds and to heal certain toxic aspects of the masculinity, to build a more healthy masculinity and nurture a more healthy masculinity ourselves, to learn how to relate differently to men, to rebuild trust between men. When we are among each other, there is a chance that we start to calm down, we start to fall back a little bit in our more gender-free state, and that creates a good foundation for reorganizing ourselves and restructuring our own system. So one thing what is happening in our groups is that all the sides of the men are welcomed and are even invited. So and because of this, many times it's happening that it's like they are observing each other's weaknesses, the participants. They are observing each other's difficulties because there is sharing about this. And this is basically, it's a kind of validation and a kind of invitation for those of the members of the group as well, for whom this would be much more difficult because they never saw a man, for instance, who is talking about his difficulties. It is more for someone who is genuinely searching for a more stable ground for his life. For someone who is willing to heal his wounds and who is brave enough to look in his own shadows and is willing to work on it.
We are here with Árpád Kántor, one of the founders of the International Moving Men Institute, together with Gregory Chevalier. And I have the luxury, or I have the luck to talk to you about why you did start Moving Men. And my first question would be, why create a space specifically for men in today's world?
Well, first of all, we create these spaces because we realize that something is missing from our society. And what is missing are those type of places for men where they can explore and they can work on those parts of themselves that are not validated by the society or not welcomed or not nurtured enough. And by this, I mean different qualities of someone who is living in a male body that are not really matching the temporary narrative about how is a man, who is a man, how should be a man. And because of these suppressions of certain qualities in us, it's created a certain shadowland. A certain shadowland when everything is sent away or closed down, that is not welcomed in our relationships, in our workplaces, in our daily life. And one thing, I mean, especially coming from the experimental psychology and the phenomenological understanding about the human being, is that this type of suppressions are creating problems in us.
These problems that are created, how can we change how we work on these problems when we are only surrounded by men?
Well, the case is that I was working quite a lot with mixed groups, so in which women and men were present, and the situation is with us that many times when a woman is appearing in the space, it's changing the direction of our attention. So basically, we start to pay attention to her instead of being together with our own internal world. It's quite fascinating and I don't know, attractive phenomena, mostly for men. And in a group where there are just men, something is happening with the polarization. So something is happening which brings us out from actually being busy with our manhood and being busy with how this is affecting the woman or how we can attract women with that or topics like that. And when we are among each other, there is a chance that we start to calm down, we start to fall back a little bit in our more gender-free state, and that creates a good foundation for reorganizing ourselves and restructuring our own system. And of course, like I must say at least a couple of words about that. Of course, this just man between men, it can be also quite how to say, like toxic masculine environment. And for instance, I don't know, in certain structures that's what we see, like it can be boost our aggression and things like that. But in this type of environment, what we are creating, this is not the case. Of course, the aggression is also welcome, for instance, if we are talking just about this quality, but it's always more to find our power, not to compete, not to destroy each other. It's more to find our grounded power and how to transform the aggression into healthy male power, which can be used in many ways.
And what would you say that after such a moving man retreat, which is self-contained, which has a certain power inside it, what is an experience that you can only have in such kind of spaces compared to for the everyday life of a man?
Actually, I have to start like what kind of qualities are we nurturing, or what is the outcome of this retreat? Like to answer this question, I have to start with my observation. One thing is that I can see in our participants that until at the end of our workshops and retreats, they became more radiant. It's hard to explain what's this exactly, but it's a certain radiance, openness, which probably is related to being more relaxed, being more centered, being more radiating their own being kind of state. So this radiance is something which I observe again and again in our participant and even in myself. I mean, I got this feedback from my girlfriend also that's whenever I'm coming home from the moving man, something changed. I'm more accessible and I just look much more radiant. So whatever this means, this I call a fantastic thing, because the internal state is also nice and visibly has an effect. On the background of this, what I assume is more that they fall back into themselves. It's a reconnecting to their own core and an access to their own authentic, alive being. And somehow some of the filters which are beaming down this light are melted down. So this. And also, of course, I can talk about this much longer. Like I see them more relaxed, more playful, more able to connect each other, but also more able to just sit in, I don't know, under a tree and looking at the sky. It's a more present state, and because of the company of other men, it's also a group, like their ability, their relational ability, it's more alive also. It's much more easy for them to connect to other people in a more gentle and also quite defined and powerful way. Yeah.
Thank you. Also, when men are with other men, there is a certain aspect of performance, a certain aspect of a race between men. How does this change during a moving men retreat? Do they need to perform something or anything to the others?
So what is happening in the moving men retreat with the tendency of men to perform and to
show
off in some ways? Well, yeah, that's quite a nice topic. Again, it's something which caught my attention many times, because many times what I see that, especially for those men who tend to perform and to have a big mask or false self on the surface. Of course, they have this because they need it in the real life, and they developed it to survive certain situations and to be able to adjust to the environment. That many times and mostly this mask is not welcomed in the group. So many times they get questions from us also and from the other participants, which is going beyond this performative surface. So it's almost like they get questions which is for the being behind the mask. And what's happening, that first I see a confusion, that the person doesn't know, he has the surface answers, for instance, to questions or its surface identity, but when gets questions which is goes beyond this, there is a shakiness and confusion. And after a while, I see that also a certain type of awakening it's happening. So almost the being inside realizes that it's seen and that someone is curious of him. So almost that self is called in, which is there behind the mask, there behind the I don't know, superficial self. That he realizes that the people have time and need to get real answers from him, not some bullshit which is just repeated in daily basis because it's easy to sell it. But they are really curious how he's doing. They are really curious that in the depths of his soul, what is he busy with? And in these depths, mostly there is not a concrete answer or formulated. It's more discovery. So these questions are bringing him into a self-discovery, that what is really behind that mask, and what is really his answer to something. And yes, and this also, going back to the original question, it's in this level there is nothing to perform, because it's uncomparable, your answer to a certain question, or when yourself is called in, it's your uniqueness is called in, which is uncomparable with other people's unique being. Yeah.
And how does this connect to the body? So I can talk about my feelings and I can see what my body feels.
Yeah.
Or I can look at what my body feels and talk from that experience. But how does this exactly work? What is the difference between just talking about my feelings and connecting with my body in this way?
This is this question, that why the body is called in, or what we mean by talking from your body or talking from your experiential level, that's fundamental. I mean, this question in our work, and it's based basically on that view of the human being in which the sensational, the phenomenological experience is primer to emotions and to the cognitive structure. So first of all, we are just observing the world, the internal world and the external world, and the emotions are uh, the next level in our being, a reaction to certain things or a different type of system which is secondary. So before we are able to distinct our emotions, we have already sensations as babies. When we don't even know anything about fear and about the primary emotions which we define later on, and this is also reflecting on that fact that we tried to go to the core of the human being and to rebuild or support someone to rebuild and rediscover himself from that core. And that core is something from which everything else will be redefined and refelt, and so on. So this is my answer. And of course, there are these superficial sentences which are circulating in the world that the body doesn't lie, and that instinctively we know better things that what we can formulate on the surface. Which again, they are superficial sentences. I don't really like them, but they do point to that fact that we have some deep senses and we have a bodily wisdom and some deeper knowledge, which many times is not even formulated. But everyone from outside sees through our posture, through the refined and fine reactions of our face, from our movement. We can read each other's fine signs, bodily signs, but many times we don't even make it conscious, even though it influences our relations. So you, by seeing me and my bodily being, you will feel certain emotions and you will have a relational experience with me, which will influence your sympathy or your antipathy or the way if you feel safe with me or not. I mean, um, it will influence much more our relation than what you can formulate.
Why create a space specifically for men in today's world?
Because these spaces are missing. So we spend the majority of our daily life in spaces which are co-educated, and also even we have some time just between men, but it's all 99% these are either goal-oriented places, so we play football or we do something which is a sport, or our attention is more on something, not so much on being together. Or when we are together, we are either drunk or spaced out in a different way. So it's very rare that space where a man gets a container with quality attention from other men, and a container which is able to hold those shadows, those parts of himself which are not fully welcomed, recognized, understood by the society. By this I mean, for instance, that there are no places where a man can work on his aggression, on experiencing his aggression, on taming his aggression, on being able to transform his aggression into real masculine power, which is serving something what is meaningful for him. But it's the same. There are no spaces where it's really welcome the sadness or the pain of a man. Mostly we have to be strong, we have to hold ourselves to deal with our problems. But there are many problems which cannot be solved or healed by ourselves, because these are problems which can be solved just in a social context. So basically, the spaces what we are creating are for men, are places where everything is welcome, what belongs to someone who is living in a male body, without any I don't know, further restriction.
Mhm.
And we are working with everything what is coming in. We are inviting really those parts of the man, which parts nowhere else have place. And we offer a space where these parts can be integrated, worked through, understood, and through this, someone can become a full human being, more grounded, with a deeper understanding about himself, more authentic, and so on.
And for this authenticity, we talked about performing and non-performance in these kind of spaces with men. How do you create such a space where we don't need to perform, where I, as a participant, can feel that it's okay to put down the mask?
I think we create a space where men they don't have to perform strengths, masculinity, or other features which are attributed to men, um, with real curiosity and with the belief that in each of the cases we will see one particular and unique manifestation of the man. So and also it's related again to that attitude that we try to go beyond the masks. We are really interested in the person in there, behind the surface, and also uh, in the way how we are working with the body and by somatic experiences, we guide these people to a space where they meet the unknown, within and without. So basically, we bring them out from the comfort zone, and in that space out of the comfort zone, the usual orientation what they use in order to perform or to I don't know, to be good enough for the outside world, it's not working. It's just not working.
And how does this change the experience?
This is basically what it does. It's opening them up towards something, and it shifts the direction of the attention. Shifts the attention of the direction from an outside observer to the internal experiences. So the experience itself is it's so intense many times that they forget to perform. They fall back to someone who is just in a wow state, like surprised by what he sees, or surprised by the emotions and experiences which are arising from inside. And this state is very close to the state of a child who is rediscovering the world and who is it's forgetting to perform because again, like it's so mesmerizing what he sees that it's just
Natural.
natural. Yeah, exactly.
Many men are strong, but they feel alone. What do you think about this loneliness in men today?
I think that the loneliness is it's really a topic which is widespread in our society nowadays, like maybe even indifferently about being a man or woman. But yes, in a way, I agree that it's even more, the man is even more exposed to this because the women are more able to connect with each other mostly. So their social skills and ability to emotionally connect and share in an intimate way is it's mostly it's more developed, which has of course an aspect which is coming from the socialization. So they are also more supported to develop these skills of their own. Like it's an example for this, that a woman when has a problem most is discussing with her friends, and it's more able to just admit that has difficulty, while a man is more trained to solve his problems by himself. And don't be weak, don't cry, don't feel pain, like this is isolating in itself.
Yes.
So one thing what is happening in our groups is that all the sides of the men are welcomed and are even invited. So and because of this, many times it's happening that it's like they are observing each other's weaknesses, the participants. They are observing each other's difficulties because there is sharing about this. And this is basically, it's a kind of validation and a kind of invitation for those of the members of the group as well, for whom this would be much more difficult, because they never saw a man, for instance, who is talking about his difficulties. So it's basically in that intimacy what we are creating, naturally it's coming up, this part. Partially also because we are directly asking for it. We are directly guiding them in a way to be clear that here are welcome all these aspects. And actually, through the vulnerability, a community is creating. Because basically the isolation many times it's created by trying to hide these vulnerable parts of us. So when it's nothing to hide, and we start to trust in this vulnerability, and we have experienced that when we open up, the world is also connecting to us, and we are able to connect in a different way. We relearn very simply how can we be in a more relational way with those who are around us. So this is one aspect. The second aspect is about that it's really empowered, that very fact that we are part of a global male community.
So I want to talk about the body and the movement. For me, the most exciting, most unique part of Moving Men is the movement itself and working with movement. And my question is, why is movement central to Moving Men? Why is not just a complementary tool?
So movement is central and not just a complementary tool in this practice, because this is an embodied practice. And one of the most manifest aspect of embodiment is the movement. So our goal is really to help the men attending our workshop to embody their body more fully, to be able to manifest through their body their being and their goal in the life, their vision. So we are making quite a big effort to bring men out of their head and to support them to expand their being in their full body. By their being, I mean their awareness, their ability to be in the world, their ability to affect the things around themselves, the ability to move more freely, the ability to sit and stand more comfortably, and to master their body better. And all this is happening also not in a kind of discipline-based aspect. So this is not a training program, or it's not about, I don't know, developing Tai Chi masters or Kung Fu masters or whatever. It's more in a very, very simple daily basis, and on very simple human-to-human connection level, to really be able to be present in their movement and their touch and their physical being. So this is one of the main answer for me to this question. And the other one is that it has many other aspects which I'm just discovering by being in this practice of the moving man, which is about to be able to be moved by other men and to be able to be moved emotionally, physically, in a way of understanding the world, by being inspired, and to be able to move each other, to be able to support each other, to give a kind of support to other men. So the movement aspect for me is also about emotional support and about physical support, about ability to hold someone, to give the right physical impulses if it's needed.
And what does change for men when they start to move their bodies and touch other men or move together with other men? What does this change?
Everything, because I mean also in this practice, the body and the mind are not separated. So when I move my body, my whole internal world is moving, my worldview is moving. If my body is stiff and I'm not able to move in my body, my soul doesn't feel so well either. And my mind tends to narrow up. So basically we are moving the attention and the energies and the psychological aspects of the human being, the emotions also through movement and with the movement together. So this is also why I call this an embodied practice, because it doesn't operates with the distinction between the mind and the body. We think that in every movement there is my psyche also and my mind.
Is that why you don't start with psychoanalysis, but instead start with the movement with the body?
I mean, I suppose you mean by psychoanalysis more like the verbal and the speaking aspect. So like to sit around and to talk with each other, to use the verbal level of the human being. Yes. So my answer to your question, that why we don't start with that, and we because we believe that again, like the embodiment, the experiential level, the movement, the somatic aspect of the human being is primer, and the emotion and the mind, it's based on that. It's more like a reflective level which is reflecting to the experiential field. By itself, it doesn't exist. I mean, when I'm saying that it's very nice to touch you, it means that I have an experience about touching you, and my words are just describing the physical happening. So this is not a concept. Or when I say that I feel better, good in my own body, then I'm just labeling my physical experience. It's not in itself. This is not a verbal thing. The verbality is just about communicating the experience. But the real work for us, it's happening in the experiential level. And of course, then we are talking also, of course, there is also a reflective part of our work, but that's secondary. First comes the experience, through rituals, through intense somatic practices, through meeting physically with each other, and it's secondary to that, the formulation and the explanation and the analysis.
What happens between men when they meet in a controlled environment and they can move with each other? So what happens to them as a group of men?
When a group of men is contained in an environment, or when we have time to which we can spend together without distraction, it's happening, I think, a certain way of synchronizing, a certain way of arriving to the commune field, a certain way of feeling part of a group, a certain way of feeling part of the community of men through the particular group. So it is moving away the tension and the identity from me and from my ego to us, to something which is bigger than me, to a kind of belonging to a bigger entity. And that's changing everything. That's again, like previously you asked about the loneliness, like how we are dealing with the lonely aspect of the man. For instance, this is something which is a direct door towards the realization that we are together. That yes, I have an ego and I have I don't know, my physical uniqueness and individuality, but I am part of a bigger entity. And also, since we are working on this in a very tangible and somatic level, this realization that I belong to a bigger whole, it's taken with us for later too. So when I go home, I have the memory also that even now, maybe my peers are not in the same room, but I do belong to a bigger, broader community which saw me, which confirm my presence, which know about me, and in which I count.
Our next topic would be the emotional depth and focusing. And my first question here is, how does the focusing approach help with structuring the workshops?
So how the focusing supports help? Basically, the focusing is really one reason why we chose as a fundamental method in our moving man practice. The focusing is that the focusing is basically a method that helps someone to reconnect with his or her core self, to his or her experiential field, the life experiences, the bodily wisdom. These are synonyms in this way. So basically, it offers some basic and very simple tools how to re-engage and recalibrate the ego or the superficial cognitive layer to the real experience. And I mean, the focusing is a method developed by Eugene Gendlin. I will not talk now much more about this, but it's an extraordinary tool for which is adjustable to all the somatic practices and all the embodiment practices, and between this also to the moving man.
Also, between focusing and working with the body, working with the somatic experience, do you find that slowness is an important part of this?
Yes, definitely. The slowness is an important part in this work. Because when we slow down, we are able to be more present. Very simply, something is happening with our attention and our perception. It deepens and it sharpens. Especially, of course, in a world which is like that one in which we are living, which is about speeding up more and more and more and getting more and more and more impulses and dealing with more and more and more stuff. To slow down and to simplify the life, even for a couple of days, like the length of our retreats, it's a crucial way of digesting things and to arriving back to ourselves and strengthen our foundation to cope with the challenges of life.
Mm-hmm. What is the corrective experience between men and why does it matter?
So what is the corrective experience between men? Well, the corrective experience is related to that very fact that mostly we are wounded by men. Not just by men, also by human beings in general, like with women and men as well. But we have quite a lot of wounds which we collected from our fathers, grandfathers, from the authority figures of our lives, who are mostly men, who we collected in the school environment, where bullying is happening, or where all kind of traumas we cause to each other. In the work environment, where I don't know, it's our boundaries are overrun by in daily basis, and society expects things from us which we cannot fulfill. In military or other structures where many men end up, where their real needs and their human basic needs are denied in order to perform something which is unhealthy actually physically and psychologically for them, but they are doing because it's needed to be done in a certain way, or at least the society believes in that this is inevitable. So because of this, coming from this background, to have an environment which is not like this, which in which men are together and mainly not forced to compete with each other, or to dominate each other, or to gather strengths by pushing others down. It's a healing experience. It basically just shows that it's possible to be together in a different way. And also, this is why we believe that this practice it's quite effective in healing father wounds, and it's here to heal certain toxic aspects of the masculinity, to build a more healthy masculinity and nurture a more healthy masculinity ourselves, to learn how to relate differently to men, to rebuild trust between men. I think this, to rebuild trust between men, is one of the key things. And of course, this is not a one-time thing. Like many times we are building this in the group, and then the daily life is coming and is ruining it, and then we have to rebuild it again. But to be able to fall back and to arrive back again and again to a foundation from where we can connect in an authentic way, and without judging each other, without expecting things from each other which are not good for the other person. It's a work what we have to do again and again, and it's very healing to do it.
We talked about masculinity before, but do you believe in real masculinity? Is there such a thing in your view?
Maybe this will sound weird, but I give a fuck about masculinity as such. I believe more in whole human beings. Meaning by that every human being needs a masculine and a feminine side. So of course it's given if that we are in a male body or a female body, or we are in a yes. So we have certain bodily features, but the masculinity and femininity, it's part of the human being. Mm-hmm. So a man who doesn't has a developed and nurtured feminine side, it's a half being. It's dependent completely on the world. So for instance, it's not able to take care of himself, so he needs someone who takes care of him. Or he's not able to express his emotions, so he's completely like emotionally retarded basically, and needs the environment to adjust to his retardation and to deal with him. But also on the other side, like a woman who is not able to stand up for herself, it's a half being. It needs a man who stands up for her. Or a woman who doesn't feel her power, it will make compromises that it's hurting her dignity, and we'll need a powerful man who is fulfilling the gap. So I believe in, and in our work is also quite a strong emphasis on this, to nurture a full human being in ourselves, and not to be busy if we are masculine or not, just to find in our own being how we can develop those qualities which are missing, or how we can be more genuine in who we are.
And without this masculinity, how do you guide men to be men in this way?
I feel that so how do I guide men in becoming more men without emphasizing the masculinity? Basically, by supporting them to reconnect with themselves, supporting them and offering them situations in which they can rediscover and sense their own power, guiding them in situations where they can find and experience their own emotions, their own vulnerability, their own softness, guiding them in situations in which they can reflect on their unique masculinity, to discover that how in their being the masculinity is manifested. So it's not an outside model what I offer, like to which everyone has to adjust. It's more a support for these men to inhabit their internal world and their body. And with my understanding is that when they do this, they will very simply realize things, and they will discover those parts of themselves which previously they were not even aware of.
Also, from this presence in the body comes a different kind of confidence, I guess.
Exactly. From the presence of their body, it comes a different kind of confidence. It comes authentic and real confidence, which is not about over-pushing something or compensating something. It's about realizing something and experiencing something.
And we have one last question. What kind of man is moving man not for, in your view?
The moving man is not for someone who is not open to move. It's not for someone who is searching for a guru or a master who will tell him what to do in order to fix his life. It's not for someone who is searching for a place where he can discharge his distress. It is more for someone who is genuinely searching for a more stable ground for his life, and for someone who is willing to heal his wounds, and who is brave enough to look in his own shadows, and is willing to work on it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.